In the world of Hearthstone, secrets occupy a unique design space. They are cards that create hidden information, forcing opponents to react and anticipate. Ideally, a secret balances risk and reward, providing impactful responses that justify the tempo lost when playing them. Yet, throughout Hearthstone's history, several secrets have failed to meet this standard. They are cards that, by design or circumstance, provide little utility, misalign with the meta strategies of their time, or create more drawbacks than benefits. Here, I'll be breaking down the 10 worst secrets in Hearthstone's history. At number 10, we have Repentance, a paladin secret from Classic that sets the health of the first minion your opponent plays to 1. Its design intends to punish high-cost minions, creating an early-game tempo swing. In practice, Repentance was not particularly strong in its era because its effect was highly situational and easy for opponents to play around, especially since Paladin lacked efficient ways to ping minions for 1 damage to take advantage of the card's effect. Repentance was rarely used in Secret Paladin. However, even in a deck that takes advantage of secrets, it was never your main choice, and was often swapped out for better cards. Repentance exemplifies a secret whose situational utility rarely justifies its inclusion, with an effect that doesn't take advantage of its class's mechanics. Eye for an eye triggers when you take damage, dealing equivalent damage to the opponent. Conceptually, it introduces a risk-reward dynamic, where opponents must weigh trading into your minions carefully. However, Eye for an Eye fundamentally conflicted with how Hearthstone games were actually decided, by board control, tempo, and proactive pressure rather than gimmick plays. As a reactive secret that did nothing to affect the board, it failed to protect the Paladin from falling behind, and was trivially played around by simply not caring about the effect. Even in aggressive matchups where Eye for an Eye looked punishing on paper, players could sequence small pings or weapon hits to nullify its impact, making it unreliable as either defense or reach. Compared to other Paladin secrets that generated immediate tempo or value, Eye for an Eye was often either irrelevant when you were ahead, or insufficient when you were behind, which kept it out of serious competitive consideration for most of Hearthstone's early metas. This is going to be the last Paladin card on this list, before it becomes a ranking of the worst Paladin secrets. Hidden Wisdom activates after the opponent play 3 cards in a turn, rewarding you with drawing 2 cards. This is effectively +1 in card advantage. However, this is deceptive. In practice, the trigger is opponent-controlled, often delayed, and may never trigger against slower decks. So while it is numerically positive, it does not behave like a true +1 in most cases, which is why this card is ranked so low. Because although it can technically have more upside than a card like Eye for an Eye, at least those secrets will almost always trigger. Hidden Wisdom's awkward activation makes it unreliable and is often just a wasted mana. At number 7, we have Hidden Cache, a secret that triggers when your opponent plays a minion and gives a random minion in your hand +2/+2. This was part of Blizzard's attempt in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan to push Hunter toward a hand buff archetype, where minions in hand could be buffed before being played to snowball value and create more powerful board turns. However, Hidden Cache failed in practice because the Hunter class naturally favored aggressive and mid-range decks focused on immediate board pressure, plus 2/2 for 2 mana was already pretty weak, but attaching it to a secret made it nearly unplayable. The whole hand buffing archetype never really took off and was more of a niche strategy in lower ranks, and Hidden Cache quickly became one of the worst secrets for Hunter. At number 6 is Potion of Polymorph, a mage secret that triggers when your opponent plays a minion, transforming that minion into a 1/1 sheep. Unlike the standard Polymorph spell, which costs 4 mana and immediately removes a minion, Potion of Polymorph is conditional as it only triggers on the first minion the opponent plays, meaning you're expected to perfectly predict your opponent. It also doesn't prevent battle cries, often leaving you behind in tempo. This delayed situational effect is especially bad for Mage because at 3 mana, their secrets are expected to be a lot more impactful. Secrets like Counterspell or Ice Block can be game-changing, whereas Potion of Polymorph rarely swings a game. Its main use is having it randomly generated, and even then there are better options. For number 5, we have a recent card. Flames of Infinity is a mage secret from the Echoes of the Infinite set that reads, when your enemy's turn ends, deal infinite damage to their highest health minion. It sounds flashy and cool, but in reality the card is just very slow removal for a class that's already struggling in the current meta. It lacks synergy with any established mage archetypes and doesn't contribute to any meaningful game plan. Because of that, and the absence of strong support cards that make it suddenly effective, Flames of Infinity might be a flavor win, but if you play it, you're probably going to lose. At number 4, Emergency Maneuvers is widely considered the weakest Hunter secret, because its effect is too slow and conditional to matter in most games. It triggers only when a friendly minion dies, and the copy it summons is dormant for a turn, meaning it cannot immediately contest the board or help recover tempo. This delay often allows opponents to continue developing their board unchallenged, making the secret ineffective at preventing loss of control, and most of the time, you are paying 2 mana for on turn 2 or 3 for a 1 or 2 drop by turn 5. Unlike more impactful Hunter secrets such as Explosive Trap or Freezing Trap, which punish the opponent immediately and swing tempo, Emergency Maneuvers provides a delayed and situational benefit that is often too little, too late, making it effectively the worst secret for Hunter. Effigy is a mage secret that reads, when a friendly minion dies, summon a random minion with the same cost. In theory, this can replace a lost minion with something of comparable cost, but in practice it's highly random and situational, because the summoned minion is uncontrolled and unpredictable, often giving something your opponent can easily deal with or that has negligible impact. Because it triggers the first minion dies and the opponent controls the timing of that kill, players can often avoid triggering Effigy on high-value targets, leaving it dead weight until a weaker minion dies. Effigy sees no play competitively, and becomes worst in Wild, where the minion pool is too large, making it all the more inconsistent. Frozen Clone is another mage secret that, when an opponent plays a minion, puts 2 copies of that minion into your hand. Though this sounds like big card advantage, the minion you get will often not synergize with your deck well, and unlike Mirror Entity, which immediately summons a copy and affects the board state, Frozen Clone gives you cards in hand that cost mana to play later. This means you often have to spend extra resources after your opponent's turn just to use the value you gained, which can leave you behind tempo against aggro or mid-range decks. The card trades tempo for value in a way that is rarely worth it unless a deck is built to go very, very late. And many metas simply don't allow that to happen. Even in Secret Mage, this card was avoided almost immediately and deemed too slow and costly. Kidnap's design fundamentally undermines its own purpose. At 2 mana, it traps an enemy minion in a 0/4 sack, which is already an underwhelming effect. It's almost like a temporary polymorph, but it gets worse. Kidnap does not stop the minion's battlecry, meaning powerful effects still happen before the secret resolves. This alone makes it inconsistent and unreliable, but the card has additional weaknesses. The opponent can simply destroy the sack and retrieve their minion, and it's possible that they gain even more value than they would have otherwise by replaying it and re-triggering the battlecry, so Kidnap can actively be beneficial to your opponent. Unlike effective secrets such as Counterspell, Explosive Trap, or Freezing Trap, which directly punish an opponent's action and shift board tempo, Kidnap rarely changes the state of the game in your favor and does little to disrupt strategies. Its conditional effect, low tempo impact, and potential to backfire make it a liability in nearly every deck, and its actual play in competitive or even casual secret rogue decks is nearly non-existent, cementing its reputation as the weakest secret ever printed.